Hello and welcome back to the Pilots Club, our Patreon exclusive podcast here at the Whatnauts. Let me go jump right into the spiel. The Pilots Club is a podcast all about the pilot episodes of television shows and the many reasons why they may or may not be worth a watch. It's our Patreon exclusive show. We release these first and foremost to our Patreon supporters at the $3 tier and above, where they remain there for 2 years before hitting free feeds. So if you are a Patreon supporter, we thank you a lot. We appreciate it. It means a ton. And if you are checking this out down the road on the free feeds, just know, hey, you got two years worth of this podcast to catch up on. So
24 bonus episodes that can be yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My name is Kyla Springer. I'm joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
Yes, I'm fine.
Doing good.
Normal. We just finished another recording. So I'm like, I'm the same as when I talked to you 15 minutes ago.
We just ate some yummy hot dogs that we made. I had a breakfast hot dog. It was good. It was fun. I was trying to describe to my partner the one that you made, and I was mistakenly referring to it as a tart. And it's not a tart. I was like, it's not a tart because it's not fruity, but you did this like hot dog pastry thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough about all of that. We're not here to talk about hot dogs. This time on the Pilots Club, we are talking about Shogun, the brand new mini series from FX, which is available on Hulu. It's based off of a novel of the same name written back in 1975 by James Clavell, or James Clavell. I'm not sure how you say his last name. There was another mini series made of this back in the 1980s. But this is the one from 2024. I think there's still a handful of episodes coming out at the time of us recording this. We are right at the end of March here on Easter Sunday. So let's see. This new miniseries adaptation was created by Rachel Kondo and Justin Marks. They are a husband and wife team, which is an interesting thing. Yeah. And so for a little bit of the plot, this follows the character of John Blackthorne, a sailor who shipwrecks onto Japan, not really knowing what to expect or what to find. And he is kind of thrown in the midst of a power struggle that is happening in Japan, as one of their political leaders has recently died, and there are kind of 5 I don't even know what you call them. I'll say 5 regions, so I don't say the wrong word there, that are kind of maybe vying for power in the midst of all of this. So kind of like a Game of Thrones set in like the 1600s of Japan. So interesting stuff. I picked. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that I think this is based off, at least in basic details, from a real event in Japanese history when the
correct
Shogun died and his heir, his son, was a child. The kid's only like 7.
Yeah.
So nobody. So yeah, it is these 5 sort of landholders. These 5 like high-ranking samurai who are sort of vying for power amongst each other while nobody being able to officially take power because everything's just like in holding until this kid gets old enough.
Exactly. Yeah. It's based on him. That kid then in real life grows up to be the founding shogun of the Tokugawa shogunate. And John Blackthorne's character is loosely based off of the English navigator William Adams. So there you go. But yeah, interesting stuff. I picked this for a couple of reasons. I'm often at the movies to go see some of the recent stuff that's out, and this is a trailer that I saw in movie theaters first.
Hmm.
That's where I got introduced to this show, and it looked fantastic. And so I was like, let me make a note of that. Let me keep that in the back of my mind that I should watch that show. And then as I was thinking about what to do next for the Pilots Club, I was like, hey, we did this thing once, Melissa. You had us watch the pilot for a show called The End Game, and we watched it like just a week or two after it had like actually aired on television. And so I kind of wanted to do something similar. Like, what is a show that's happening right now that we can watch? And I was just like, why not Shogun?
You picked a show that seems like is successful, whereas I don't think anybody really thought about Endgame at all. I saw like one trailer. I saw one commercial while like something else was on TV, like the Macy's
I'm assuming
parade or the
didn't
Super
get
Bowl.
picked up for a second season.
Who if forgotten to the sands of time? Or is maybe the last podcast recorded on Endgame. Time will tell.
But I liked the idea that you had, because we do try and get a good mix of like well-known shows, lesser-known shows, expensive shows, cheap shows, lots and lots of planes, fast planes, small plane, big plane. So yeah, I was like, let's do something recent.
If we keep getting more Patreon dollars, we'll move on to from Pilots Club to Infomercials Club, where we'll just remove infomercials like lots and lots of jets and planes, Magic Bullet.
Classic infomercial podcast. That's a great idea. Cool. Well, Melissa, I knew that this one was going to be right up my alley, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts on this pilot was.
Japan's a fascinating country with a long and fascinating history. Well, although to be fair, what country doesn't have a fascinating history? No country has ever touted itself as come to the Netherlands for a boring history. Right?
There might be a real small one out there that's trying to think of creative ways to inspire tourism, right?
Safest, most normal history. You'll step on a patch of ground, we assure you, nobody has died there before. I did like this. I'm not sure if I would keep up with it. I appreciate that this is a big, lavish, period piece drama in a time and place where, at least here in the West, we don't see a lot of period pieces set. It's got a giant cast, lots of different people in it. It sets up a lot here in this first episode, which was like 56 minutes long, not a full like 2-hour beefy TV movie, but of considerable length, you know, at least for something that aired on television and wasn't a streaming release. 56 minutes, interesting running time. It sets up a lot. It's a lot to keep up with, but I appreciate what it's doing. I don't know if I'll watch more of it, but I'm happy this is out there and that people like it and it's doing well.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's fair. Like I said, I knew that I would thoroughly enjoy this.
Yes.
So yeah, I absolutely loved it. I absolutely will be continuing to watch this. I asked my partner if she would want to watch it with me, and I was like, we can at least watch the first one together, because I have to do it for the Pilots Club. And I think we'll both can continue on watching this show for sure. But I think you already kind of answered the question that I would like to ask, of like if you would keep on watching this after this. So let me ask you this instead. This is a pilot episode that I feel has very, very much the whole show in mind. It's very confident right out the gate. It does not feel like a proof of concept. do you feel like this almost set up too much? Do you think we maybe needed a more a tamer proof of concept episode, or is something like this acceptable?
It's certainly acceptable. I don't think it's like confusing at any point. The problem often is that sometimes I only have the morning before we record these episodes to watch the show.
Sure.
And when the pilot we have picked is trying to set up a lot of things, sometimes I'm like, it's 10 a.m. I am not ready for all of this. And I know, like, just circumstantially, that is a barrier between me and this, that I did not pick it to watch at my leisure. I was assigned to watch it, and I have to do it morning of before I go to podcast school.
Melissa, did you do your homework?
I did my homework. I watched Shogun. But
Yeah,
I could tell it was a show that I would have to really keep up with. Like, if I take 2 weeks off, there's so much going on, I might forget something. I'm not a binger. I like to sort of pace myself and take my time with things. And I don't like when a show like has to be speed runned.
Yeah. I think that's actually a valid point. Like, people have other stuff going on in their lives, and even if it's not assigned to you to watch for a podcast, sometimes you're just too busy, and that can exhaust you, and you don't have like the mental capacity to keep up with all of these details and listen to the English and read the Japanese and do all of that stuff. And that can be daunting. I understand that. I don't think, like, if you actually do sit down and pay attention to it, I don't think there's really much that's confusing about this pilot, right? There's no time travel stuff. There's no sci-fi stuff, but it is a very detail oriented show, just between the political struggles, the characters. This guy says he's English, but his accent's not. But this, like, is he who he really says he is? Even then, something that I know I do for almost everything that I watch is just, where have I seen that actor before? Right? Where have I seen that? And like, so I spend that mental capacity like trying to figure out where I know people.
It can take a lot out of you. And I think I would prefer this if it was a movie, because a movie would have fewer ingredients in it, and it might spend more time with those ingredients, and like things would be solved quicker. Like, we are in a time when there's a couple Portuguese traders and missionaries who have come to Japan, and now there's this one English sailor and some of his men who are also trying to find Japan, because this was like Portugal's secret. Portugal's like, we found this cool country, and we got all this stuff back to trade with you. We're not going to tell you where it is. This is the 1600s when it was still possible for a whole country's location to be a secret. So, like, the most of the show is in Japanese. That guy and his men speak English. And they know some Portuguese. So there's like a little bit of a bridge language. So there's a lot of scenes of characters who don't speak each other's language kind of miming things. And I'm really going to sound like my mother, but I didn't like how much name calling there was. Like, it was by the end of this first episode, I'm like, I'm really tired of hearing every person call every other stranger a savage and a barbarian, and how long it's going to take, because this is a television series, even a mini series. Like, it would take 6 hours for problems to be solved. Whereas if I was watching a film, even a long film, like, I'm here for 3.5 hours, but they'll have that settled by 2:25.
Yeah. Man, I like that. Yeah, there is a lot of that I think you have to sift through. but I think for my case, I don't mind that, because that's part of what I find so interesting about this pilot, is that there are people who speak, like, it's not just English or Japanese. There is Spanish, there is Portuguese, right?
Oh,
There
yes,
is,
yeah.
so like it's a number of different languages just trying to, all right, what's happening here, right? In
I
this kind
and
of
I do kind
standoff.
of
That's
I do kind of like that as a puzzle, but
yeah.
it's like we are dealing with people who are very argumentative. And one of the first things that happens in the show is that Hiroyuki Sanada is sort of low-key insulted by these other samurai, and one of his men stands up and tries to defend him. But Hiroyuki Sanada, like, to save face, is like, why would you? I am upset that you thought this lord would have offended me. That's
Yeah.
wrong. Of course this lord wouldn't offend me. How could you have said that? And then that guy is like, I not only is like, I will commit ritual seppuku, I will take my own life. He's so ashamed. He's like, I will end my family line. And then they also have to kill his baby? They
Yeah.
kill his baby boy. And I'm like, everything is like so harsh. Every problem must be solved with a blade.
Yeah, that's how life
If it was
was.
if I get it, but again, it is 10 a.m. I do not want to hear about a baby that has to be killed at 10 a.m. If I had come to
Or
this, if
a
I had
man
wandered in,
boiling alive.
right, if it had been like 8 p.m., I'm looking around, what's new? Oh, this is interesting. If I would have come to it on my own time, I might have felt differently
Sure,
instead of like,
sure, yeah.
why? Why this? Why now? Why to me?
Sometimes you have to be in the right headspace to watch certain shows. But it's not just their language barriers that they are trying to get past. There's also just this difference in culture and respect of, like, what kind of man are you here? And I really liked the scene after they kind of not shipwrecked a second time, but they go through this violent storm. And I don't remember the actor's name, but the dude from Lost. There's multiple
Nestor
actors from Lost.
Carbonell.
Yeah, him.
Yes.
I recognized him immediately. I was like, "It's
yes,
him.
He's
It's
very,
Richard Alpert.
he's very
It's,
distinct.
But like, he looks very different here because he has the full beard. He's put on
He's
a
got
little
the puffy sleeves.
Bit of weight.
We're back in puffy sleeve times.
Yeah, but I was like, that's Richard Alpert? Oh my god. Okay. But when he goes overboard and washes up on these rocks and they try to save him, even though he's probably long gone, I loved that scene where he, like, what's his name again? Blackthorn?
Paul Blackthorn.
John Blackthorn.
John, whatever.
Yeah.
Paul Blackthorn's the guy from the Dresden Files TV show. That's another actor. He was on Arrow. That's that guy.
I gotcha. But he's in his own way, like, kind of challenging the guy who's in charge. Like, well, I'll step up and be brave enough because I guess you're not going to do. And even though they don't understand the words that they're saying, they have to, like, this guy's testing me. He's an idiot. Like, I am. Of course, I'm brave enough. And he goes down to do the thing, and the rope snaps, and it almost kills him. And then he washes off of the rock. I was shocked
when he got up again. He landed on his back on a boulder. I'm like, that man is dead or paralyzed at the very least. He should not be fine.
Yeah, and he gets up, but he gets caught up by these, like, rapid waves that just engulf him and pull him in. But he's stuck up against these rocks still, so he's stuck. Like, there, he either has to wait till the storm goes down or it kills him or something. And so he's about to kill himself, and there is still this misunderstanding of, like, I got you. Like, you obviously couldn't survive it, which was my plan all along. Haha. But he's kind of eventually told, like, no, the guy did that because that is a fitting end for him in this brave act of saving another man's life. His is lost. Like, what more could you ask for? That puts him up on the pedestal, not you for surviving, right? And then once it explains, like, hey, it like things work a little differently out here. The way you respect people out here, and that respect is earned or given, is different from what we're used to in Europe. And then that next we see like that dialogue over him being brought into the city, and just kind of once he's in front of again, I don't remember the character's name, Lord Yoshi Toranaga, just immediately like bows as low as he can get. He's on his knees, his head is like up against the floor, not in a way that like I think at that point he understands it, but also understands like, I can manipulate this somehow, some way, maybe just enough to at least like help me survive and make a living for myself. If I'm an ass kisser, I'm actually a capable man here, right? Like I can do some stuff. So I liked that whole scene where we lave off on this, like, there's going to be some political intrigue and manipulation and stuff happening here. Get ready.
I do like that stuff. I would like words being used instead of blades. Just very cutting comments, and not I have to kill your son now.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of both of that.
There is stuff. I did like this. This is very good. I just don't. It's too much homework for me right now. That's why I'm saying I'm not watching it. I'm very happy this is part of our TV landscape right now, to have something this big and lavish and of a type that we don't see as often. Like, you compared it to Game of Thrones. It's very much in that vein, but just with a setting, with a backdrop we don't get to see as much of. Although interesting that it has come so shortly after Blue Eye Samurai, which is also in Japan. Maybe a century or two later, but interesting like to have two historical pieces set in the same country so close to each other, when that's not quite so common to begin with. One thing I liked is that our main guy, not the main, the I don't know if he's the main guy. You started describing the show, framing it from John Blackthorne, but like when I Google the show, it frames it from like Hiroyuki Sanada's point of view. It is a show that it seems like
main characters.
Yeah. And maybe when all's said and done, you could ask 10 different people to describe the show, and 10 different people could pick a different entry point to start to tell you what it's about, which is interesting. But he is Protestant, and like part of why he's there is to burn down Catholic missionaries. And like one of the white men who is already there is like a Portuguese Catholic missionary or trader or something. And like those two are arguing with each other, and the Japanese guy's like, I don't even know what this is. You guys figure this out amongst yourselves. Like, don't come to me for he did this thing that disrespect. I don't know that. Okay. Which I think is interesting, that there's
your Christian antics.
Right. Like, maybe this is a time when they're like, Christianity's just Christianity. Like, we don't understand its different factions. It is its own faction, so different from ours. We kind of look at it as one thing.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too, because Anna Sawai's character, I believe that's how you say her last name. She also recently played the daughter in Monarch. She and also, speaking of Monarch, I believe it was Takahiro Hira who plays Ishido, one of the guy who was at the start was talking to Lord Toranaga in that assembly room here. He played Hiroshi Randa in Monarch. So some interesting casting there for sure. But she Anna Sawai's character of Toda Mariko seems to be a Catholic convert. I know that's what Wikipedia is also saying, but they hinted at that. And
Yeah.
they seem to treat that as sort of a secret weapon of like, we can also use your faith to gain a foothold among like the religious sector and what that will mean for our power struggle. I'm not sure how that will play out or anything like that, but I liked that it wasn't just like these strange white men in a strange new land that are like, they are the Christians and everyone else is the savages.
Yeah.
But it's like there are people like this whole Portuguese interaction has been around long enough that there are already converts
Yes.
who are pretty staunch in their faith of like, no, it's just one God. It is the Christian God, and I'm interested to see how that plays into things here. So
To talk about John Blackthorne, it's very funny to me that everyone's accusing him of being a pirate, and some people are like, "Well, we don't speak this man's language. We don't know him. How do we know he's a pirate?" When he has the most pirate-sounding voice you've ever heard. I don't know if I know this actor from anything, but what a voice on that guy.
Right? Just a like real booming voice. Good stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed this all around. Cannot recommend it enough. Go check it out. Any other kind of final thoughts on this? No, yes, no.
Looks good. It's shot well.
Yes, absolutely.
I was fascinated by when you're in that coastal town. I wish I had a slightly better grip on the geography and where all of these characters were in relation to each other, and like how far away is everybody? Like, is this plot line and this plot line days travel away from each other?
Right.
When you're in that coastal area, there's this fisheye lens that they use most of the time, which is an intriguing choice. And I'm curious if are we going to see that again, or was that a choice for like one location? And once we leave the location, we're leaving that cinematography trick behind, and we'll use something else when we go to a different place. I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, it is beautifully shot. The costumes are incredible.
Yeah, excellent production values, very impressive.
Absolutely. Well, Melissa, what are we going to be talking about for next month?
I have another historical drama, but set in a very different time and place. This is a show from, this was a one-season show from 2011. I remembered the commercials, and I also remember that the show did not last long. But I'm intrigued by the premise. I figured we'd watch the pilot. This show is called Pan Am. And it is about a fleet of stewardesses, as they would have been called at the time, on the Pan Am airline, hitting it big in the 60s jet-setting age. To read the description, the style of the 1960s jet age comes to the small screen in the sexy period drama. The situation is prime for passion, jealousy, and espionage among the flight crew headed by cocky flyboy Dean, a pilot who is among the first not trained in the war. The beautiful and educated stewardesses consist of Maggie, a bohemian who has cleaned up her appearance for a chance to see the world, flirty Colette, adventurous Kate, and Kate's beauty queen younger sister and runaway bride Laura. This show stars Christina Ricci and I believe one of the first performances from Margot Robbie.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I remember the commercials for the show, and wherein one of the women bragged to, I think, a friend of hers who maybe wasn't a stewardess but was thinking about it. This woman's like,
Mm.
I love this job. I make more money than my dad. And I thought that was a fascinating angle to take of. It reminded me of when we watched Cable Girls, where
Sure, yeah.
like we suddenly have this new workforce opened up that is specific to women, to young
Right.
women who can make a life for themselves where they couldn't before. And in this era specifically, when it's hitting so big, you can't just make a living. You could be very successful. You could become maybe the most successful person in your family if you work hard enough at this.
Gotcha.
Sounds fun. Jet setting
Sure, yeah.
1960s age. Just watching this pilot episode of a defunct show about a defunct airline.
Oh wow, I see that David Harbour is also in this.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, interesting.
It's very funny because a harbor is where you put a boat, not a plane.
What was he thinking? Right.
You should only be on boat shows, David.
Where can people watch this? Where can they find it?
If you have AMC Plus, I guess we'd have to get a trial to AMC Plus, or maybe the sort of thing where you pay $2 for the episode somewhere.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know where this aired originally.
The
It
network
aired
was
on
ABC.
Okay. It said USA, but I realized that was the country of origin and not the network USA where characters are welcome.
That's great. Yeah, so if it's on ABC, there's a chance it could be on Hulu.
I didn't see that,
Okay.
but it's
yeah.
a trial to AMC Plus might yield some fun stuff.
Cool. Good stuff indeed. Cool. Well, that is what we will do for next episode, Pan Am, the pilot episode of that. I think our first Pilots Club episode dealing with planes.
No, because there's that
What did we do?
what's that other plane show we watched where they come back 5 years later?
Oh yeah, you're right. My mind went completely
Manifest?
blank on that. Yes, you are correct. Manifest indeed. We did that one, though. That one, like, you don't you see the plane ride, but it's more so about the people's lives after that.
Yeah. The pilot is not a major part of it, the pilot, but in this, it seems like perhaps he will be. It's stewardess forward.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I read that little blurb and it mentioned a pilot first. I'm like, hold on, this is a ladies' show.
Good stuff. Well, with that, Melissa, where can the people find you on the interwebs?
I'm around at Wilkie Wit. Find me there.
Good stuff. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer, and if you'd like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts official on Threads. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. Once again, a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Go check out more of our videos over on that side. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.